So the first thing I wanted to cover was a concept called pacing. This was something that I heard from one of the product managers from Facebook. And I've actually got a very short YouTube video. I just want to play us just a couple of minutes just to let them kind of talk about what it is.
I'm going to spend a little bit of time going into pacing. How many of you have had this problem that you test something on Facebook with about $100 budget, you get a fantastic ROI, and then when you scale it up to, say, $10,000, you get an ROI that is much more middling and average? How many people have seen that happen? So that happens because of our pacing system. We can spend any budget you give us, and we can spend it incredibly quickly. We have 1.5 billion people. So what we do is we pace your spend. Mathematically, we optimize so that you're giving the minimum bid possible. You're bidding the minimum amount possible to satisfy your budget amid your targeting spec. So if you're targeting, let's say, everyone in the US with a $100 budget and a $5 CPC bid, we can satisfy $100 on the US with much less than a $5 CPC bid. We can satisfy it probably with 1 cent or 2 cents. But when you go further and scale it up to 100,000, that 2 cents bid is not the bid that goes into our system. It'll be much, much closer to your maximum bid. And the reason is that we don't want to do a disservice to anyone just because they're setting a low budget. We want to do right by everyone and deliver the maximum amount of value. And we consider every budget, every dollar that anyone gives Facebook through a budget to be an optimization problem. How can we spend your money the most efficient way possible? And thus, a best practice for interacting with our budgeting system is to set honest budgets and bid. Because if you do not, the only real person that you will harm is yourself.
Okay, so that was one of the product engineers talking about pacing, so I'll just go into a little bit of detail on that, just because the first time I heard this, I wasn't really 100% sure what we should be doing with that information. Oops, clicker stopped working. Come over here.
So that was just on YouTube?
Yeah, no, so this was actually something that I downloaded off of a Facebook page, edited it just to include that little segment, and then uploaded it to YouTube so that we could watch it. So essentially what I got from that is Facebook wants to spend your budget in the most optimal way. That's what they want. Well, they want two things really. So they want to spend all of your budget. That's like probably their most important thing. But secondary, they want to give you the best results for that budget as well. So you keep coming back and keeping spending money with them. So the algorithm is always looking for the cheapest ways to meet your objective. So whatever objective you're loading into your Facebook campaigns, so get leads, get traffic or whatever, they're always going to be looking to give you the maximum amount of results for whatever budget that you give them. And it's going to attempt to find that perfect balance between maximum results and spending all of your money. So that's really what I got out of that. So just as an example here, so let's imagine that we're running a campaign for a business coach and we're targeting people who like Gary Vaynerchuk in Sydney. So what Facebook's going to do is it's actually going to look at all of those people who like Gary Vaynerchuk in Sydney, and it's going to sort all those people depending on what they predict the people to convert the best and who are the cheapest to reach. So let's just imagine that this giant grey square is that market, and right down the bottom here is the people who are going to what Facebook thinks to be the cheapest to convert, and right up here is the people who are going to be the most expensive to reach. And that's a combination of their likelihood to convert and the actual cost to reach that people. So you got what Facebook predicts to be the cheapest conversions down the bottom and the most expensive conversions up the top. Is everyone kind of following that? So if let's say we have a $10 per day budget, what Facebook's going to do is it's going to go to these people first. So that's why quite often when you start with a low daily budget and you start getting a few sort of good conversions through at a cheap price and you're thinking, wow, I've got a winner here, and then you start trying to scale it up and then the whole thing falls over or it doesn't keep working. This is part of the reason, is because with that $10 a day budget, you're reaching sort of the cheapest conversions that Facebook can give you. But let's say if we go to the same and try 100 a day, that's who you're going to get. So there's kind of this gap here. As you spend more, you're going to end up reaching more expensive people. kind of makes sense?
Why are they more expensive?
So, I mean, it's an auction system, so there could be other advertisers who are going after that specific person. So maybe one of the people up here, they've visited a whole bunch of like engagement ring websites or something like that. So all the engagement ring people are bidding heaps to try and get in front of that person, but they're also in your target market. So the price to reach that person is going to be high. Yeah, Ben?
Are there any better quality in terms of
Quality doesn't really come into it. And from Facebook's perspective, it's just people who they predict to convert.
That's what I mean, like, are they more likely to be those type of converting people because you're paying more?
Not necessarily. So,
This means that a lot of people are advertising to that person. They don't want to put too many ads in front of them. Is that right? Or
well, they can only put a certain amount of ads in front of a person per day. So, yeah, if there's other advertisers who are bidding way more to get in front of those people, then you're not gonna meet those people.
Like, my understanding of it, right? So, for example, in the cheap results, there's like 10 people. So if you have a $10 budget, you might get 10 leads for $1. But as like the people try and get in front of them, as you crank your budget, then you're getting those people that are least likely to actually convert. Actually, that's why the price goes up. So I will sometimes drop my ads to $1. I'll get 3 leads for $1. Put up to $50, I get 1.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, totally. And that's why. And you got to remember as well that it's a combination of how cheap it is to reach someone and their likelihood to convert. So maybe even if someone is really expensive to get in front of, because a lot of other advertisers get there, if Facebook predicts that they will convert, then they're going to sort of be those people that see the ad. Sorry, go Ben.
Yeah, just to sort of maybe give a different description of that. Facebook, it's a number of factors why it's more expensive, but one of the big things is Facebook knows what you're most likely to convert.
Yeah.
So if you have an offer for an event, like a paid event, Facebook will determine the probability of your likelihood of converting to that offer. For example, maybe you are more likely, say 60% more likely to convert to an event versus somebody else might be 2%, for example. So it's kind of scaling. It's going for the people that are more likely to convert for that specific campaign based on. I don't know if I'm stealing all of your data, but this presentation during based on
Yeah, kind of go into a little bit, yeah.
Objectives and a few other factors, but I'll let you take away. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so like Ben said, I mean, Facebook often talks about how much they know about people, like they've got over 1 million data points on people, and they often talk in these videos that they've started putting out, like kind of very proudly how their algorithm is like so smart and all this stuff, and how they can, they've got these really advanced sort of predictive algorithms that they use to actually figure out, like, can you imagine, like, this is just one ad and it's looking at, in our example, all of the people who like Gary Vaynerchuk in Sydney, and it has to like rank every single one of those people depending on how likely that person is to convert. So they've just like in an instant ranked 200,000 people or whatever it is, depending on how likely that person is to convert. So moving on from that, any other questions on this? I'm going to talk about it a little bit more. So that's why costs can blow out when you're increasing your budget. So yeah, it just makes sense. If you're going to go after more expensive people, then the price is going to go up. But of course that begs the question, why is it that you can scale a campaign and you can get your costs to come down? So here's what we can do to actually overcome this problem of the higher sort of prices that are coming through. So the first one is making sure that there is enough data for Facebook show ads to the right people. So as Facebook learns more about who's actually converting on your offer from your conversion pixel or whatever is linked to the objective that you're going after, they'll actually reshuffle those people depending on the sort of the new learnings that they're getting about who's converting on your offer. So that's what we can do. We can make sure that Facebook actually has some really good data about who's most likely to convert on your offer, so it's going to show your ads to those people first. And we'll go over just in a couple of slides sort of how to actually figure out if you've got enough data for your ad set or not. And the other thing that you can do is just being nice to the algorithm and protecting your pixels. So I'm going to talk about protecting your pixel in a second, but by being nice to the algorithm, I mean doing things like not massively increasing your budget really quickly or constantly changing things in your ad sets. Every time you make a change to your ad set, whether that's changing the targeting, changing your ads or whatever, they kind of have to reset what they know about what's happening and just start again, basically, because you've changed what they were using to predict who was going to convert and who wasn't going to convert. So protecting your pixel. So this is just a brief one. I don't see this as being a massive issue for a lot of people, but let's say, for example, we had our business coach and we only wanted to get people who were doing over $1 million in revenue applying for our service. So if we noticed that a lot of people who were applying who were below that $1 million mark and they were hitting our thank you page and sort of tripping off our conversion pixel, what's going to happen is Facebook's going to use sort of those common elements of those people who are below $1 million, and it's going to use that data to sort of dictate what it's going to do in the future. So if you end up with the wrong types of people hitting your thank you page and tripping off your conversion pixel, then you're actually going to be doing yourself a disservice, because these people who are coming through, they're the wrong types of people, so Facebook is just going to try and send you more and more and more of the wrong types of people. That kind of makes sense. So yeah, make sure you're getting the right types of people in your target market, hitting your thank you page, tripping off your conversion pixel. Otherwise, you're going to kind of use Facebook's algorithm against yourself by getting Facebook to send you people that you don't want. And we actually found this in the real world with one of the business coach clients. We started getting a lot of people who weren't qualified applying, and we did notice that as more and more came through, we got more and more of them as well. So we had to make some really serious changes to the process, where we qualified super hard on the sales page, being like, don't apply if you're below the certain level. We can't help you, so don't even bother, that kind of thing, just to make sure that they weren't going through the funnel and tripping it off.